My ex texted, "I've taken our son. Don't try to find us. All contact through my lawyer." I replied, "Understood." Then I immediately filed an emergency guardianship order and alerted the police with proof of her mental instability. 3 days later, her lawyer was desperate. The applause was still echoing in my ears when I sat down. I had just wrapped up the biggest infrastructure presentation of my career. 12 months of research, blueprints, and sleepless nights, all tied together in a neat 40-minute proposal. The firm's partners nodded approval. I even caught Carla, the notoriously hard-to-impress board member, give me the smallest hint of a smile. For a guy who had worked his way up from unpaid intern to senior architect, this was the moment. Then my phone buzzed. I glanced at it, expecting a congratulations text from a colleague or maybe a reminder from lunch. But it wasn't either of those. It was from Miranda. "I've taken Liam. Don't look for us. All contact to my attorney." I stared at the screen, the words not quite registered. I blinked once. Then again, the room around me kept humming with post-meeting chatter. But for me, everything just stopped. There were no warning signs, no recent fights, no screaming matches. Just a typical Sunday morning with pancakes and cartoons. We had even laughed about how Liam refused to eat anything that didn't come with syrup. That was 5 days ago. I typed back a single word, "Understood." Then I stood, walked calmly out of the conference room, and ducked into the nearest empty office. My hands were shaking, but my voice stayed steady as I called the one person I trusted in moments like this. "Mr. Hawthorne." I said the second he picked up. She took it. Miranda took it. "I just got a text." A pause. "I'll start the paperwork," he replied, voice low. "Emergency guardianship. We'll file today." I hung up, already opening my computer. I had files, emails, notes, things I never wanted to use, things I collected just in case. I never wanted to believe it would come to this. The signs had been subtle at first. A sudden shift in tone when she spoke to Liam. The sharp snapping at bedtime. The long, hollow silences that sometimes lasted days. I had begged her to talk to someone. Once, she went to a single evaluation, then refused to go back. I pulled open the folder I had labeled in case. Inside were voice memos, some of her more erratic emails, and notes I had quietly jotted down whenever her behavior raised alarms. There was even a recording of Liam asking why Mommy cried in the shower every day. I swallowed hard and forwarded everything to Mr. Hawthorne. Then I called the front desk and told them I'd be working from home the rest of the day. When I got back to the house, it felt like a museum. Every room perfectly still. Liam's toy truck was on the living room rug, his shoes by the door, a half-finished cereal bowl in the sink. It hit me then, the silence, the empty stillness of a home without your child in it. I sat on the edge of the couch, not sure whether I should scream or sob, but I did neither. Instead, I opened a new document and began listing every sign I could remember, every moment of concern, every red flag, because I was going to get my son back, and I was going to be ready. I didn't sleep much that night. I sat at the kitchen table with a legal pad, Liam's crayon drawing still hanging crooked on the fridge behind me, and listed every incident I could remember. I had written down so much over the last year, but now it was about organizing, turning chaos into evidence. Miranda had changed after Liam turned 4. Not suddenly, just little things, like refusing to leave the house for days, or buying luxury handbags when we were barely making the mortgage. Some mornings she'd be all over Liam, kissing his cheeks, packing snacks in odd little bags shaped like animals. Other mornings, she wouldn't come downstairs at all. I had hoped it was stress, or maybe something hormonal. I asked her, gently at first, to see someone. After the first evaluation, the therapist report mentioned signs of mood instability and possible manic behavior. Miranda never went back, said the woman didn't know anything, said I was the one who needed help. I kept the report anyway. That morning, I drove to Hawthorne's office with a flash drive into Manila. He read in silence, skimming through my printed timeline. The emails I had sorted into categories: impulse purchases, paranoia, emotional neglect. He paused at the audio clip when Miranda screamed at Liam for spilling milk on her shoes. Then he pressed play again, listening to the quiet sobbing after. "She's not well," I said. "I don't hate her. She can't be around him like this." He nodded. "I was tired. You've done more work than most. This helps." I left his office with a copy of the emergency filing paperwork and drove straight to the precinct. It felt strange walking into a police station as a civilian asking for help. But when I showed the officer the documents, the therapist's note, the emails, he didn't brush me off. "This is serious," he said after reading. "We'll escalate. We'll open a wellness check request with Child Protection Services." That should have brought me comfort, but all it did was make the whole thing feel real. This wasn't some temporary spat. Miranda had taken our son, left no address, and refused all contact except through a lawyer. At home, I walked through each room like I was in a stranger's house. Liam's little socks were still in the dryer. His Batman toothbrush sat dry on the sink edge. I touched it and realized I was shaking. Every room screamed normal, but now it just felt like a stage after the actors had left. In Liam's room, I sat on his bed and picked up one of his stuffed animals, a beat-up turtle with one button eye. I hadn't cried yet, not when I got the text, not at the lawyers, not at the station, but I did, only for a moment. Then I got up, wrote out a checklist for Hawthorne, and started preparing for the next move, because this wasn't over, not even close. By the third day, I looked like hell. I hadn't shaved, barely slept, and was running on cold coffee and adrenaline. I kept my phone glued to me like it was an oxygen tank. Every buzz made my chest tighten. Every unknown number could be the call. That morning, it finally came. Mr. Hawthorne's voice was calm but urgent. We got a location. Apparently, Miranda's sister, Kelsey, had called the police. Not to help, of course, to accuse me. She claimed I had a long history of emotional abuse, that Miranda was scared for her life. She told them you've been manipulating Miranda for years, Hawthorne said flatly. But Kelsey didn't know the whole story. She slipped and mentioned a motel name. We traced it. It was 2 towns over, a roadside place near the interstate, the kind of place people go to disappear. I was already halfway to the car when the officer called. We've made contact, he said. Your son is safe. We're placing him in emergency custody until the court sorts things out. Is he okay? I asked. He's quiet, scared, but unharmed. I pulled over to the gas station and gripped the steering wheel. I wanted to cry. I wanted to punch something. I just sat there, numb. Then he added, Miranda was combative, refused to speak to us, locked herself in the bathroom. She was rambling, said we were agents sent by her. That hurt more than it should have. Even after everything, some part of me wanted to believe she'd just panicked, that she'd cool off and come back to reality. But this was worse. This wasn't just fear or confusion. This was full detachment. I drove straight to the child services office where they'd taken Liam. I wasn't allowed to see him yet. Standard procedure, they said. He needs time. The guardian ad litem will be in touch. I nodded, trying to play by the book. That's what Hawthorne said. Follow every rule, stay calm, be the stable one. I could do that. I had to. At home. I cleaned Liam's room like he was coming back tomorrow, put his shoes in the closet, fluffed his pillow, washed the turtle. I had no idea how long this would take, but I knew one thing now. She had taken him across county lines, disregarded an emergency custody order, lied to the police. This wasn't just emotional instability anymore. It was criminal. And now, I had more than a legal case. I had proof. The call came that Friday, just after noon. I was eating a sandwich at the kitchen counter, scrolling through emails I barely registered. My phone buzzed, and I didn't recognize the number. I answered anyway. Mr. Thomas? The voice was tight. Click. This is Miss Devlin. I represent Miranda. I didn't say anything at first, just leaned back against the fridge and waited. I'd like to begin a conversation about a potential custody arrangement, she said. Miranda is open to mediation. She wants what's best for Liam. I let out a short breath through my nose. No, she doesn't. If she wanted what was best for Liam, she wouldn't have dragged him to a motel and locked herself in a bathroom. Miss Devlin hesitated. I could hear papers shifting in the background. Obviously, there have been difficulties, but she's willing to work through this. She doesn't get to set the terms. I cut in. There's a court order. She violated it. Until she undergoes a full psychological evaluation, she doesn't see him. Not supervised. Not at all. Devlin paused. That seems unnecessarily aggressive, Mr. Thomas. Children benefit from contact with both parents. Miranda took our son and fled. She broke the law. This isn't about contact, I said, my voice low and steady. It's about safety. There was a beat of silence. Then a soft, fumbling. We could discuss a short-term visitation schedule with third-party supervision, of course. I glanced out the window. The backyard looked still, like the whole world was holding its breath. I thought of Liam's little shoes by the door, his cereal bowl still sitting in the sink. No visitation, I said. Not until she completes the evaluation. Not until she's cleared by a professional. Ms. Devlin sounded like she was swallowing air. Mr. Thomas, surely there's room for it. There isn't, I said. We ended the call. Hawthorne texted me 5 minutes later. Devlin called. I'm drafting the response now. You did the right thing. For the first time in weeks, I didn't feel like I was chasing after Miranda's chaos. Now she was the one on defense, and I wasn't backing down. It started quietly, the way most storms do. A post in a local church group. Please pray for my daughter, Miranda. She's being unfairly targeted by her ex, who's trying to take her child away. No names, no details. Just enough to stir sympathy. The comments flooded in. Stay strong. Men always get the benefit of the doubt. The system is broken. I didn't find out until someone forwarded it to me. Then it escalated. Miranda's mother, Maureen, went full force. Facebook posts vague but clearly about me. Money doesn't make you a father. Love does. Some people think they can control others with lawyers. She tagged family members, old neighbors. Even posted a picture of Liam holding a stuffed animal, one I'd given him, with a caption that read, "Stolen moments, praying for reunification." I gritted my teeth. I didn't respond. Hawthorne's advice echoed in my head. Document everything. Stay quiet. Let their noise build the case for you. Then came Kelsey. I had taken Liam to Target for new school supplies, supervised outing, with court approval, and we were in the checkout line when I heard her. You really have no shame, do you? I turned. Kelsey stood a few feet away, arms crossed, eyes red. She stepped closer. You stole her son. Do you even hear yourself? Liam cries for her. He doesn't even want to be with you. The court-appointed supervisor was already stepping between us. Ma'am, you need to back up. Why are you doing this to her? She hissed. She's sick. She needs help, not punishment. Security got involved. They escorted Kelsey out before she could cause more of a scene, but not before Liam heard everything. In the car, he didn't say a word, just held his new notebook on his lap and stared out the window. That night, I cried in the shower, quietly, so he wouldn't hear. The next supervised visit with Miranda took place in a county-run room with 2 chairs, a table, and a box of toys. She greeted Liam like nothing had happened, hugged him too tightly. "I miss you so much," she said, her voice trembling. "Daddy's keeping us apart, but that's not your fault." The supervisor looked up from her clipboard. Miranda kept going. "Daddy doesn't want us to be together, but I'll fix it. I'll fix everything." Liam didn't answer. He just played with the toy truck, pushing it across the table slowly, again and again. The supervisor wrote everything down, every word. By the end of the visit, she pulled me aside. "She's coaching me, undermining me. It's noted. This will help." I nodded. My heart felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Let them smear me. Let them twist every word. Because every step they took now was walking them straight into the courtroom. By now, I'd learned the rhythm of Miranda's chaos, like a storm that moved in waves. First came the emotional ambushes, then the public martyrdom. Now, the smears. It started with an email to HR. Anonymous, of course. "I'm concerned about Ethan Thomas. He's emotionally unstable, maybe abusing substances, and is involved in a domestic custody dispute. I urge you to investigate before something happens at the office." I found out when my manager, Rachel, pulled me aside after a morning meeting. She closed the door, lowered her voice. "We got a message about you," she said. "We know it's garbage. Just letting you know in case it escalates." I nodded, jaw clenched. "Thanks for the heads up." Rachel gave me a sympathetic look. "We've got your back. We've seen your work. And, honestly, half the partners are divorced. You're not the first guy to get run through the ringer." Still, I sent Hawthorne the forwarded email and copied my boss, just to keep the record straight. Then came the wellness check. It was a Thursday evening. Liam and I were watching a dinosaur documentary on the couch, popcorn scattered across the cushions, and someone knocked. I opened the door to 2 uniformed officers. "Mr. Thomas?" one asked, professional but cautious. "We received a report about possible neglect and unsafe conditions involving a minor." I blinked. "Excuse me, it's probably nothing," the taller officer said quickly, "but we're obligated to follow up." I invited them in, offered them a tour, showed them Liam's room clean, with folded pajamas on the bed and his favorite books lined up by nightlight. Liam, confused but polite, offered them a handful of popcorn. The older officer cracked a small smile and knelt beside him. "You doing okay, buddy?" Liam nodded. "My dad makes pancakes with chocolate chips. Mom never did that." They left 10 minutes later. "I'm sorry, Mr. Thomas," the younger one said at the door. "This was a waste of your time." "No," I said. "I appreciate you being thorough." I called Hawthorne. "We document this, right?" "Already on it," he said. "These things only help us." So I kept documenting. Every fake email, every ambush, every time Maureen posted something passive-aggressive on Facebook about losing access to our angel. I checked in regularly with the Guardian ad litem, sent updates, pictures of Liam doing homework, notes from his teacher about how he'd started smiling more in class. I didn't retaliate. I didn't lash out. I just kept doing what I was supposed to do, quietly, precisely, consistently, because Miranda thought she was waging war with emotion. Outbursts, guilt, chaos. But I had learned. The real war was paperwork, and I was winning. The next hearing was supposed to finalize temporary custody. Just procedural, Hawthorne said, but it never happened. Miranda's lawyer filed for a delay that week. Medical emergency, Devlin claimed. Miranda's anxiety has worsened due to the trauma of separation. Trauma of her own creation, Hawthorne muttered as we walked out of the courthouse. "They're stalling. It wasn't the first time. In the span of 2 weeks, they filed motions to postpone the psychological evaluation, request new mediators, challenge jurisdiction. Everything but show off." "She's circling," Hawthorne said. "No strategy, just panic." But Miranda's panic was turning dangerous. One afternoon, I got a call from Liam's elementary school. The secretary's voice was tight. "Mr. Thomas, just wanted to confirm. Was Kelsey authorized to pick up Liam today?" I stood up from my desk. "What?" She said she was his aunt, but her name's not on the list. "She's absolutely not authorized," I said. "Is Liam okay?" "He's safe." We followed protocol. The police already issued a formal warning. I thanked her and hung up, hands trembling. When I got to the school, Liam ran to me. He didn't say much on the ride home, just stared out the window, chewing his sleeve like he used to when he was younger. That night, I filed another police report. Attempted interference with custody. The detective didn't even blink. "This family's digging their own hole," he said. The next court session, the judge wasn't subtle. "How many more delays?" she asked Devlin, arms crossed. "Miss Thomas has had weeks to schedule this evaluation." Devlin cleared her throat. She's struggling to manage her anxiety, Your Honor. She's actively seeking a new provider." "No," the judge cut in. "She was assigned a court-approved provider. She missed the appointment 3 times." Devlin flinched. The judge leaned forward. "This isn't about Miranda anymore. It's about the child. and my patience is running out. After court, Devlin stopped Hawthorne in the hallway. I stood just out of earshot, but I could see her expression, pale, lips pressed into a flat line. She's losing grip, Hawthorne said when he returned. Devlin knows it. She's trying to salvage what she can. Meanwhile, I stayed the course. Liam had started sleeping through the night again. He asked if I could start putting notes in his lunchbox, like I used to when he was in kindergarten. I said yes, of course. Every morning now, I write something small on a sticky note. You're braver than you know. Math isn't scary when you're awesome. Love you always, Dad. Because I knew it was working, Miranda was unraveling, and the judge was watching every thread come loose. The courtroom was colder than I remembered. Not just the air, the atmosphere. Like everyone in that room knew something heavy was about to land, and no one wanted to be under it when it hit. We'd been at it for 4 days. Testimony, cross-examination, evidence review. I sat beside Hawthorne, hands folded tight, watching it all unfold like I wasn't even part of it. But I was. Every part. Miranda entered late on the final morning. She wore a beige blazer that didn't quite fit, hair pulled back too tight, lips trembling just slightly. Devlin walked beside her, stone-faced. She avoided my eyes. The judge took her seat and looked exhausted. She flipped through her notes, then turned toward Miranda. Miss Thomas, you may proceed with your statement. Miranda stood slowly. Her hands shook as she unfolded a piece of paper. She tried to read from it at first. Something about maternal instincts and pressure, but it didn't take long to fall apart. They don't understand, she said suddenly, tossing the paper onto the table. You don't understand what it's like to be constantly watched, judged, to have your child pulled away and treated like a pawn. Devlin leaned in, whispering something quickly, but Miranda kept going. He turned Liam against me. He made me look crazy, but he's the one who kept records like some kind of creep. Who does that? Her voice cracked. I was a good mother. I didn't handle everything perfectly. It doesn't mean I should lose my son. The judge raised an eyebrow. Miss Thomas, are you denying the events reported during the motel incident, or the statements provided by law enforcement? Miranda paused, then snapped. They were lying. Gasps scattered through the gallery. Devlin buried her face in her hands. Miranda wasn't finished. And he's lying, too. She pointed directly at me, face red now. He's making me look like I'm sick, like I'm broken. But he's always been manipulative, always needing control. The judge held up her hand. That's enough, Miss Thomas. Please sit down. I'm his mother. Miranda screamed. You can't take him from me. She had to be escorted out. The room was silent for a full minute after. Then Hawthorne stood. He didn't raise his voice, didn't grandstand. He simply presented the compiled file, every visit report, every psychological evaluation, every time Miranda failed to show up or follow through. He played the audio clip of Liam crying in the motel. He showed the report from the school staff when Kelsey tried to remove Liam without consent. Then he handed over the recommendation from the guardian ad litem. It was only one page. Recommendation, full physical and legal custody for Ethan Thomas. Visitation for Miranda Thomas. Supervised only, pending further psychological review. The judge read it slowly, then looked at me. Mr. Thomas, do you understand the responsibilities you are accepting today? I do, he said. She nodded once. Effective immediately, Mr. Ethan Thomas is awarded sole legal and physical custody of the minor child, Liam Thomas. All visitation by Ms. Miranda Thomas will be supervised, with conditions to be reviewed in 6 months. The gavel fell. It was over. I sat there for a moment, frozen. Hawthorne put a hand on my shoulder. You won, he said quietly, but it didn't feel like winning. It felt like surviving. The first week after the ruling, I kept expecting a call. A knock. Some last-ditch stunt from Miranda or her family. But nothing came. The silence was surreal. Miranda disappeared from public view almost overnight. The online support groups that once called her brave stopped posting. Someone must have leaked the full custody documents. Maybe a court clerk. Maybe a mutual acquaintance. Either way, people saw the truth. The motel. The missed evaluations. The emotional manipulation. Suddenly, all those pray for Miranda posts vanished. Her church group turned quiet. Even her own mother went radio silent. I got a voicemail from Maureen a few days later. Her voice was slow, flat, like she was calling from a hospital bed. Ethan, I'm sorry. I didn't know everything. We were just trying to help her, but I see it now. I really do. I hope you and Liam are okay. I listened to it once, then deleted it. Kelsey, on the other hand, didn't apologize, but she disappeared. After the school incident and the police warning, I think when she knew she had crossed the line. Liam stopped asking about her after a few weeks. Miranda was granted one supervised visit a month. The first one came and went with no show. The second one, she arrived 20 minutes late and spent the entire hour staring at her. Barely spoke to Liam. Didn't touch the juice boxes the supervisor laid out. After that, she stopped scheduling them altogether. I didn't celebrate. There was no champagne, no loud relief, just small things. Liam started sleeping through the night again. The nightmares stopped. He began humming again while brushing his teeth, asking for 2 bedtime stories instead of 1. He started drawing pictures of our house, just the 2 of us and the cat, and taping them to the fridge. One night, I found a note in his backpack, a school assignment. My favorite thing about my dad is that he always comes back. That one stayed in my wallet. The house started to feel like a home again. I painted the hallway with Liam one weekend. He picked out a ridiculous shade of green, and we got more on ourselves than on the walls. But it was ours. It was peace. Hard-earned, messy, painful, but real. Miranda faded like a shadow in the rearview. No more lawyers. No more filings. No more games. And me? I was just a dad again. Just a guy trying to get his son to eat broccoli and finish his math homework before 8 p.m. But every time Liam laughed, really laughed, I remembered what it cost to protect that sound. And I knew I'd do it all again, without hesitation.